What is up, guys? Alex here. I have this Xiaomi M3. In this video, I'll be reviewing it, talking about its specs, design and stuff like that, and what this phone comes with, and if you should get it at the end of the day. If you should buy it, if you're looking for a phone that's good, that has good specs, and if you actually need it or not. But without further ado, let's get on into the video. So first things first, as I always talk about, is I want to talk about the design. This sort of went with a little bit different design. And the camera, if you see right here, is on this end of the screen. And then for the rest, it's just, glossy material with the Poco logo. The rest of the phone has this nice material, which is this yellow with texture on it, which I feel like it looks pretty cool. I really like the yellow color, and it looks really good through the case as well. Now, if you do want to change this, you can always put a case that covers the color or a skin on it over the phone, so it covers it, black out the color. It has USB Type-C at the bottom with speakers at the bottom and 3 speakers at the top. I'm pretty sure the ones on the bottom are for the microphone and the ones at the top are for the actual phone. Has a aux cord or a headphone jack and on the top. A lot of phones nowadays don't have this, and yeah, this phone design pretty cool. I really like what they did with the cameras too. It makes it sort of different. Sort of what they did with the Note 20 Ultra, where at the bottom of the camera it had the Samsung logo. Here it has the Poco logo, and I feel like it looks pretty cool in my opinion. Now let's talk about the screen. The screen is an IPS LCD 6.53 inch screen that is able to 1080p by 2340 pixels. So it's really good. The pictures on this and the images on this aren't that bad, if I do say so. The screen is also not that big as well. It fits definitely in the palm of my hand fairly easily, without any trouble of me fitting it in my hand. Now, if you have really big hands, maybe this one is not for you. Maybe you need another phone. But 6.53 inches is just fine, and I really like the way this phone feels with the textured back. This sort of feels like a case to me too. I don't know if you can take this off, but this does feel like a case to me, and the yellow just looks different, but it's also cool. So right now I'm just showing you guys images of what the screen looks like, and the protection is Corning Gorilla Glass 3. So Corning Gorilla Glass 3, 6.53 IPS LCD screen that is up to 1080 by 2340 pixels. So it's not that bad whatsoever. It's definitely not bad at all. And yeah, but the screen, it runs its games. You can definitely watch your videos on it. Of course, I'm running the usual 4K video over it, so you guys can see what it actually looks like. Now, I want to talk about the space. So you can either get it 64 gigabytes or 120 gigabytes with, sadly, only 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, I'm going to mention why 4 gigabytes of RAM is sort of good and bad at the same time for the price of this phone. So you can either get a 64 gigabytes or 128. I'm pretty sure this is the 64 gigabyte version with 4 gigabytes of RAM, and sadly you only get 4 gigabytes of RAM. So even if you choose the 128 gigabyte version, you only get 4 gigabytes of RAM. It also comes with a micro SD port, so you can definitely change that if you want to add more storage to it other than the 128 gigabytes that it supports, or it comes internally. You can add a micro SD card above it, or add one so the phone has more storage overall. But for the price of this phone, 4 gigabytes of RAM is sort of in the middle and sort of good at the same time, but I'm going to mention that later. So for people that take a lot of pictures, 64 gigabytes I feel like is just more than fine, or 128 gigabytes. But if you want a phone that comes with 256, maybe you would want to get another one. But for me, this one is fairly good. 64 gigabytes, 128. This is 64, but I have a 128 micro SD card here, so I'm gonna use that to use for the phone. Again, 4 gigabytes of RAM. I feel like they should have extended a little bit more, but yeah. So yeah, this phone can definitely run Fortnite Battle Royale on it. I wouldn't say fast, but it can definitely run it at the minimum requirements for Fortnite. And the phone is fairly cheap too, so if you want to play Fortnite on this one, you can definitely It can run Call of Duty Mobile, Fortnite, Free Fire, games for your phone that are fairly large. You can definitely run them on this phone. Now, the cameras, it comes with triple cameras: a 48 megapixel wide camera, a macro camera, and a depth sensor camera. The 48 megapixel camera and the other two are 2 megapixel cameras. So the wide camera is a 48 megapixel wide camera, and the other two are a macro camera and a depth sensor of 2 megapixels. This can shoot at 1080p 30 fps with HDR. And I'm pretty sure it can shoot 60 FPS without HDR. But, you know, you do have to test that. Now, the frontal camera is a hole punch camera. It doesn't pop up like the Pocophone F2 Pro. And that camera is an 8 megapixel wide camera with 1080p 30 FPS with HDR, which is really cool. Again, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and it comes with, you know, a fingerprint. But instead of the fingerprint being in screen, it's actually on the side, on the turn on button. So right here, if you turn it on and your fingerprint is registered, you can just turn on your phone and it'll already be unlocked, which is really, really cool. So cameras are not that bad, honestly. These cameras, 48 megapixel camera is decent. I'm not gonna say it's bad. 48 megapixel camera is definitely decent, and the frontal camera 8 megapixels. But I feel like a lot of people don't take pictures with you know, the frontal camera as much as they do with the back camera, because if you're a tourist and you like going different places, you're of course gonna use the back camera from your phone. And if you're, you know, a person that doesn't want to spend a lot of money on your phone, this camera, 1080p, I mean, it could be. It's a fairly decent camera. I wouldn't say I recommended this to take all your pictures in, but it's fairly decent in my opinion. I feel like it's, you know, sort of good. It's not that bad. It's just right in the middle. 48 megapixel wide camera and a 2 macro and depth sensor camera. So it's, again, not that bad. 48 megapixels, comes with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Again, fairly decent. Of course, I am showing you guys pictures of this camera, you know, triple camera, 48 megapixels, stuff like that. I am showing you the pictures. So 48 megapixels, a macro sensor of 2 megapixels, and a depth sensor of also 2 megapixels, and a frontal camera of 8 megapixels wide. Now the 48 megapixel camera is also wide, which is, again, super cool. I'm just repeating myself here just to let you guys know what this phone and the cameras actually bring. Now, here comes the meat of the video. A lot of people want to know what the processor is. Now, the processor is a Snapdragon 662 of 8 cores, or eight cores pretty much, 11 nanometers, which is not bad. I can see why this phone can run Fortnite and Call of Duty mobile, so it's definitely not bad. It's definitely, they're up there with the Snapdragon 865. It's literally like what, 10 off, so it can definitely run. This processor is not that bad, and I'm showing you guys, you know, gameplay of Fortnite and Call of Duty mobile. Now the GPU is an Adreno 610. GPU, I've never really heard of the Adreno 610, and I'm actually really excited to test it out, because as of I'm recording this, I haven't tested out this Adreno 610 just yet. I've only really seen my dad play with it and you know, play Call of Duty mobile on it. I really haven't just played on it myself, but an Adreno 610 sounds, you know, really good. You know, sounds up there, not like an Adreno 640, so it won't be able to run games at like 60 FPS on your phone. I'm pretty sure it does have a game boost mode though, just like the Pocophone F2 Pro, because of the operating system, but I'm not sure yet. Now, battery, it does come with a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. A 6,000 milliamp hour battery. Now, I'm not complaining here. A 6,000 milliamp hour battery, but a 6,000 milliamp hour battery for a Snapdragon 662 and an Adreno 610 and a 48 megapixel wide camera and a 4 gigabyte of RAM phone with an 1080 by 2340 IPS LCD screen. I feel like this phone should have stayed around the 4,000 to 5,000. I feel like 6,000 milliamps is a little bit of overkill. You have a phone like the Asus RG Phone 2 with 6,000 milliamp hours, but that phone has a Snapdragon 865, Adreno 640, I believe, and a bigger overall screen. So you can see what that phone actually needs it. I'm pretty sure it also has a 68 megapixel camera. Don't quote me on any of those specs. I'm just going off my mind here. But 6,000 milliamp hours, I'm not complaining. Again, I'm definitely not complaining. You know, I love phones that last a long time. You know, if it did last a long time of full 24 hours, that is cool. I love that. But I feel like this phone should have stayed around the 4,000 to 4,700 range, like the Pocophone F2 Pro, or like the what was it, the X3, the NFC one that I reviewed the other day. I already forgot the name. Should have stayed around those ranges, because 6,000 milliamp hour battery for these specs is sort of like a little bit of overkill, at least in my opinion. I feel like it's overkill, and I don't feel like, you know, it's, you know, like that in this whole bunch of 8 megapixel camera. But Xiaomi did this, I guess, expecting people to use this for a long time, I'm guessing, but I guess they did it. Now I want to talk about RAM. 4 gigabytes of RAM. Price of this phone is around $250. if you get the 128GB version. Subtract that by like, I think that's an extra $60 if you get the 64GB version. I'll leave it in the description if you guys want to go buy it, of course. But this phone, 4GB of RAM for $250, that at least could have added 6. That's what I'm saying. It's a little bit good and it's a little bit bad at the same time. For $250, it's you know, I would have expected at least 6, maybe even 8 RAM. But 4 RAM for $250, it's just fine, honestly. I don't know what I'm bragging about. It comes with a case, screen protector, a bunch of different specs, and 4GB of RAM. So for $250, maybe even less if you get the 64GB version, you can always just upgrade it to more with a micro SD card. It's fine for 4GB of RAM. It's definitely just fine. Now, a phone like the Poco M3 Pro, which is $600, then yes, you would expect more RAM. But for this phone, I feel like it's just fine. 4GB of RAM. Now, 6 would have been, again, decent. Would have loved 6GB of RAM, but I feel like 4GB of RAM is cool. It runs Fortnite. It runs your typical games, so it can definitely run apps that you throw at it. It can probably run Genshin Impact. It can probably run Ark Survival, you know, mobile, which is, again, high graphic game. I used to play that on mobile, and it took all my battery in like 3 seconds. But yeah, this is really cool. Really cool phone, and I really like it. It does come with fast charging, 18-watt fast charging. Again, 6,000 milliamp hour, 18-watt fast charging. First fuel should have been like 32 or maybe even more than that, like 45 for this phone. But yeah, 18-watt fast charging for the Snapdragon 8-core Snapdragon 11 nanometers. Again, just fine. Those are pretty much all the specs for this phone. Again, as I was talking about the Snapdragon, I was showing you guys gameplay of me playing Call of Duty Mobile, you know, games like that. Of course, with the camera, again, 40 megapixel camera, 2 depth sensor, and a macro camera, 2 megapixels each, and then the frontal camera is an 8 megapixel frontal camera as well. Really like the design of this phone, really like the yellow and the texture that it comes with. Again, feels sort of like a skin that they put over it, but it's not. You can't take this part off. This is the legit back of the phone. It has a headphone jack. Phones nowadays don't have them because you have you know, AirPods and wireless headphones, but it's really cool that they added that. Since the phone is so cheap, you know, they're expecting people that don't have a lot of money to buy that, which means people that don't have a lot of money have wired headphones, which is definitely not a bad thing. I prefer wired headphones better than wireless because in my personal experience, some wireless headphones that I've had disconnect on me like all the time and they die, and just with wired ones that doesn't happen. So I definitely prefer wired ones better than wireless, but you know, it's everybody's, you know, personal opinion. I just do like the fact that they brings with it. Do feel like they should have added it on the bottom instead of the top. Because on the bottom it's just way better because I put in my phone in my pocket like this, so the USB Type-C goes up and like looks out of my pocket. So it's gonna be weird to have my phone, you know, in the headphone jack if I'm listening to like that, being in the bottom. I don't know, just never really used it like that. Sort of weird, but I have gotten used to it with the Poco Phone F2 Pro that I do use. But yeah, these are pretty much all the specs for this phone. You guys saw I was putting images of Call of Duty Mobile, putting images of Fortnite, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like, subscribe. Let me know if you guys would get this phone. And remember, I will leave a link in the description for you guys to find more information upon this Xiaomi Poco M3 or just Xiaomi M3 phone. Again, Corning Gorilla Glass 3, Snapdragon 8662, 1080p, 2340 screen, 6.53 inches, 48 megapixel wide camera, and 4GB RAM with a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, peace out.